Hello, my name is Lisa Paulson. As part of the SES 680 Sport Pedagogy course at the University of Northern Colorado, we are putting together physical activity and sport autobiographies. So I'm excited to share a little bit about how sport and physical activity has been a part of my life throughout the years and how it plays into what I do today. So currently, I am a PhD student at the University of Northern Colorado in the Physical Education and Physical Activity Leadership program. This is my second year of doctoral school, and prior to coming to Colorado, I come to you from Minnesota. So most recently, I served as PET and HEAT faculty in the teacher preparation program at the University of Minnesota Duluth, which happens to be, as you can see below, my alma mater. And primarily, I taught elementary methods, secondary methods, supervised student teachers. I served as the health education coordinator and taught lots of other classes as well. Really great experience teaching in higher ed for 3 years. And prior to higher ed, I was an elementary educator. I taught elementary PE, adapted PE, middle school health education. And I did that for about 7 years. It was a charter school, so I actually also taught environmental education and wore lots of hats there as well. Prior to working as a full-time teacher for the first time, I earned my master's straight after my undergrad. So my master's was at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse in teaching PE with an emphasis in adventure education and outdoor pursuits. And I came there from the University of Minnesota Duluth, where I earned my undergraduate degree. I was a double major in physical education and health education. So the PhD program at the University of Northern Colorado brought me out from Minnesota, which I consider home, to what I call my academic residence in Greeley, Colorado. I live very close to the campus. Other places that I've lived a few places in Minnesota. I'm from Bloomington, Minnesota, which is just right outside of the metro area. I spent a lot of time living up north in Duluth, Minnesota, which isn't too far from Canada. The house that I currently reside to when I go back to the Midwest area is located in Superior, Wisconsin. I lived in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I actually did my freshman year of college at St. Cloud State prior to transferring to the University of Minnesota Duluth. I've lived in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where I earned my master's degree. And actually, in between my master's and my first year of teaching, I lived in Pierre, South Dakota. So my very early physical activity experiences, sort of before I started anything organized, in school or anything like that, was very different than probably a lot of people. I didn't grow up with any sort of pressure or influence of anyone encouraging physical activity, but I grew up in an apartment complex, sort of a low-income community in which luckily we had access to so many things, and basketball was really accessible. So that was probably my primary sport and favorite way to be active as a kid. There was also a full-size volleyball court, a pool, a playground, lots of things that were all within our apartment complex when I was growing up. So naturally, I was always outside wanting to be active with the other kids who lived there that were my age. Regarding basketball, I think, the only girl on the court for many, many years. And my earliest experiences, I remember just learning. I didn't know anything about form, but learning as I went, and I was pretty decent at it. So I went on to play later, and I'll talk more about it in future slides. At the left, I am there water skiing, holding onto the bar. That's one of the earliest experiences that I can remember that was sort of more of an outdoor or recreational sport or activity to try. And I did that with Nancy, who you'll see on the right on the back of that bicycle with me. Nancy is my big sister, or was my big sister. She's still a big part of my life, but we're no longer in the mentorship program. So Nancy is a big sister through the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. And we were matched actually when I was 6 years old. So We've been together for a really, really long time, and she was a really instrumental person in introducing me to, not just physical activity experiences, but talking to me about why we need to be active and why it's important to eat healthy and, all of those sort of really early experiences related to movement and exercise and healthy eating. So throughout my school years, I did plenty of different physical activities, and of course, all the pictures that you see on this slide and all of in the slideshow are not an exhaustive list. But I ran races. That emoji of me on the left is me running a race. I would do 5Ks or I'd run for fun. I also tried out track as an organized sport throughout middle school, I believe. And that was all until I realized that I actually really hate running. And that's okay, and unless I'm running up and down a basketball court or something along those lines, I choose to lift for my fitness and get cardio in other ways. And so it's funny that I actually did probably quite a bit of running, even though I don't necessarily think that I ever really enjoyed it. And I think that might be true for other folks as well, for many different sports and physical activities. I also skied. My big sister, who I mentioned prior, was an influence in getting me some ski lessons. And this picture here doesn't look like they paid off too well. It looks like this might be the picture from one of my first times out skiing after my lesson, and I, bombed the hill, and so there's my partial garage sale. But I still do ski today, and skiing is a part of my life. I hope to do so more, as time goes. It's a good lifetime sport. The middle picture there is of me playing tennis. I started playing tennis in 7th grade. I did a couple camps and things. I also, most currently, one of my jobs is serving as a tennis professional at a local country club. And so tennis is probably one of the biggest sports or physical activities in my life. In high school, when that picture was taken, I played #1 singles on the varsity team, played everyone's best player, which sometimes went well and sometimes didn't go so well, but a great opportunity to better my skills. And then I also played on the basketball team, traveling, and did that all the way, both basketball and tennis throughout high school. After high school, in my undergraduate, I did play some other sports and physical activities, but on the left there, primarily I played on the club rugby team at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I was a flanker on the team. That was a really great learning experience and personal growth. And then after my undergrad was over and into my master's, I was trying to figure out ways, to be active. And I think I still hadn't figured out that I hated running. So I was trying to train for this, half marathon and still find a way to be competitive. But I only made it, I think, about 8 miles without limping due to some previous ACL injuries and things. And so I decided to train for a bodybuilding competition. I actually did 3 bodybuilding competitions. I think pictured here is my second one, which took place in lacrosse. But bodybuilding was a great way to learn so much more about my body and about nutrition, and a really good personal growth experience. And then, of course, I did, other things. In Pierce, South Dakota, there's not that many things to do outside of, going to Anytime Fitness. So I took up things like fishing and hunting pheasants and camping and lots of different outdoor activities. In lots of different things, most of which I grew up with. I still love to play basketball. I still love to play tennis. I probably play tennis the most in terms of a sport, what I would consider. But I'm, like many adults, I'm much more interested in outdoor pursuits and activities and lifelong fitness. And so I really actually love just putting on my headphones and going for a walk outside recreationally. I still love lifting weights. Fitness is still a big part of my life. I like doing outdoor things like paddleboarding, kayaking, canoeing, all of those sort of outdoor sports. And then pictured on the right there is a picture of my daughter, Mia, and I hiking in Colorado and a time that she came to visit me. So that's a pretty special memory. So that is my autobiography. Thank you so much for listening.